In everyone's life, there comes a moment when you start thinking about your health, about how to live a long and fulfilling life. Many seek answers in pills, diets, and trendy procedures. But what if the secret lies in the simplest things, those that have always been at hand? Imagine a woman who is 90 years old. She doesn't know what diabetes or high blood pressure is, and she doesn't take any medication in the morning or evening. She gets up on her own, makes herself breakfast, walks every day, reads without glasses, and remembers everything she wants to remember. Some will say, lucky. Others will see good genetics here, but she simply knows what she puts on her plate. She didn't treat diseases, she simply didn't give them a chance to appear. But let's look around. How do her peers live? One is breathless when walking, another's bag has turned into a mobile first aid kit. Someone opens not a window every morning, but a package of pills, and we get used to it. We get used to pain, to fatigue, to poor sleep, justifying everything with age. But maybe it's not about age. Maybe it's about the consequences of what we have eaten for years. But most importantly, everything can be changed, even if you are over 60, over 70, or even over 80. Not with radical diets, not with fasting, but through simple, living, warm food, the kind that feeds, heals, and protects. Today we will talk about 5 products that became the beginning of her second youth and undoubtedly helped her live to 90, not just surviving, but truly living. But before we get to the secrets of longevity, your support is very important. If you care about the health of yourself and your loved ones, support this community. Subscribe to the channel. If the video seems empty to you, leave the word 0 in the comments. And if it resonated in your soul, write 1. This will show that we are on the right track. Your response is the fuel that helps us move forward. So let's get to the most important thing. Let's start with what has been a part of her every morning for many years, with a product that gave her clarity of mind and lightness in her heart. And that is product number 1, chokeberry. Small, tart, but capable of more than a whole shelf of medicines. She started using it about 30 years ago, not because it was fashionable, but on the advice of a neighbor who, by the way, was a paramedic in retirement. She said, "If you want your vessels to be like a young person's, brew rowan berries. You don't need much, but every day." At first she was skeptical. Well, just a berry, but she tried it. She brewed a handful of dried rowan berries in a thermos, let it steep for a couple of hours, and drank half a glass a day. Not every day, but regularly. After starting to use chokeberry, amazing changes were noticed. Her head stopped feeling heavy. Her hands stopped freezing even in the winter cold. Most strikingly, her blood pressure normalized. Previously, its surges forced her to lie down, but now it stabilized, as if the clock inside her body was working accurately. Chokeberry is a berry with unique properties. It contains so many useful substances that a pharmacy cannot offer anything similar. Anthocyanins are natural dyes, dark, almost black. It is they who strengthen blood vessels, improve blood circulation in the eyes and brain. Simply put, they make a person more cheerful. Here is an example from life. The author's friend, Anna Pavlovna, who retired almost simultaneously with her, was 74 years old at Taos. The time. She constantly complained of dizziness, especially in the mornings. She said that she felt like she was floating in the room, and her hands were constantly freezing. The doctor stated vascular weakness due to age. She was prescribed pills that she did not tolerate well. Then the author advised her to try rowan berries. She brought her friend a jar of dried berries and told her how to brew them. Several months later they met in the park, and Anna Pavlovna, as if nothing had happened, waved to her from the other side of the alley. She said that she was walking alone again, without fear, and her fingers were as warm as before. She doesn't even always wear a hat in winter. That's how this berry works. It is not exotic, not imported, but our native chokeberry. How to use it. Brew in a thermos for 2 to 3 hours. Drink like compote. You can add berries to porridge, dried or fresh, or to compote from apples, but without adding sugar. The main thing is not once, but regularly, little by little, without fanaticism. If you also have blood pressure spikes, your fingers are freezing, you feel heaviness in your head, just try it. Rowan berries do not act abruptly, but gently, as if returning harmony to the body. If you are already familiar with this berry, you can write the word strength in the comments. If not, then you can write, I'll take note. This is a way to understand that the information is useful and that you are being heard. The second product is even tea, a herb that brings back tranquility. In the author's youth, even tea was drunk in many homes and families, especially in the village. It stood on the shelves of grandmothers in 3-liter jars. It was brewed like regular tea, only the taste was softer, and after it there was no bitterness or anxiety. Then they forgot about it. Stores are filled with boxes of air fresheners, and fireweed tea has become irrelevant. 20 years ago, the author returned to fireweed tea and has not been able to imagine her life without it since. The reason is simple. It has a beneficial effect, which is so necessary with age. Fireweed tea soothes the nervous system, relieves internal tension, improves sleep quality, and normalizes digestion. And all this without medication and the risk of addiction. Every evening, the author brews a small pinch of fireweed tea, steeping the drink for 10-15 minutes. She drinks it warm, without sugar, sometimes adding a drop of Rowan infusion. After this, the body relaxes, thoughts subside, and sleep comes quickly and peacefully, without disturbing dreams and frequent awakenings. She remembered a friend with whom she often met in the library. She complained of evening attacks of palpitations and anxiety, which prevented her from falling asleep. Pills did not bring relief, but only deprived her of strength. One day, the author poured her friend fireweed tea into a thermos, advising her to try it instead of regular tea. A few days later, her friend shared her impressions. For the first time in a long time, I fell asleep without fear of insomnia. I just lay down, and it was as if someone closed my eyes. The beneficial properties of fireweed tea are explained by its rich composition. It contains substances that support the normal functioning of the brain, heart, and stomach, preventing overloads. Fireweed tea has an anti-inflammatory effect, promotes gentle cleansing of the liver, and improves the outflow of fluid from tissues, which helps to get rid of swelling and a feeling of heaviness in the body. This drink is especially useful in adulthood when the body becomes more sensitive. The recipe is simple. 1 teaspoon of dry herb per 300 ml of hot water. Infuse under the lid for 10 to 15 minutes. It is recommended to drink warm, not on an empty stomach. Fireweed tea can be consumed throughout the day, but it is especially effective in the evening, replacing sweet tea or coffee. If you strive for silence, peaceful sleep, and a clear morning, it is worth trying this drink. The second product being discussed is buckwheat porridge. Simple, accessible, and, as it turned out, for many years. If you ask the author what she ate most often in her life, the answer will be clear: buckwheat. Not because of fashionable diets, but because she grew up on it. With age, the understanding of the benefits of buckwheat has only strengthened. When the author turned 60, problems arose with blood sugar levels, lethargy after eating, weakness, palpitations. The doctor advised her to monitor the indicators. The author refused white bread and pastries, replacing them with simple buckwheat. In the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, on water without salt and oil. Nothing extra. The author shared her observations. Just 2 weeks after starting to eat buckwheat, she noticed the disappearance of drowsiness after eating. After a few months, her body underwent significant changes. Blood sugar levels stabilized, blood pressure decreased, and a feeling of satiety appeared, without burdening the body. That is why the author values buckwheat so much. It does not cause a feeling of heaviness, but, on the contrary, supports the body. Buckwheat is rich in slow carbohydrates, providing energy for the whole day. In addition, it contains magnesium, iron, and fiber. And all these beneficial properties are available without any pharmacy supplements. If you cook buckwheat until soft, avoiding frying, it is suitable even for those who suffer from problems with the stomach or pancreas. The author cited the example of her niece Tanya, who always ate on the go, snacking on whatever came to hand. The author advised her to simply soak buckwheat overnight and bring it to a boil in the morning. Initially, Tanya was skeptical about this, but a month later, she admitted that she had started eating normally for the first time, became more focused, and had more strength in the evening. The author concluded, "The secret is not in fashionable breakfasts, but in buckwheat. Simple, reliable, and unpretentious." Over the years, her confidence in this product has only increased. The recipe is simple: 1 part buckwheat to 2 parts water. Cook over low heat for 15-20 minutes without oil and salt. After cooking, you can add a little rowan decoction or a spoonful of warm linseed oil. The author urged readers, if they are thinking about changes in their diet, to start with buckwheat. It is like a foundation that does not require special efforts, but provides a basis. Next, the author moved on to product number 4, seaweed. It contains no less iodine than in pharmacy preparations. The author tried it for the first time at the age of about 40. In those days, little was said about thyroid problems, and her hands began to freeze. Her voice became quieter, and she felt a lack of strength. The doctor, after studying the tests, advised her to pay attention to seafood. The author does not like fish very much, but she liked seaweed. It is not heavy, has a slightly salty taste, but when cooked properly, it is not sharp. The author adds it in small amounts to a salad with porridge, sometimes eats it separately, as a side dish. After a couple of weeks, she felt warmth returning to her hands, her strength recovered, and clarity returned to her mind. The author emphasized that this was the result of the body's coordinated work. Sea kelp is not only a source of iodine, known for its beneficial properties. It is also rich in B vitamins, iron, magnesium, and dietary fiber. This gift from the sea has a beneficial effect on the thyroid gland, helps cleanse blood vessels, and normalizes metabolic processes in the body. In addition, sea kelp gently lowers cholesterol levels and eases the burden on the liver. A telling example is the author's neighbor, Rosa Andreevna. The woman had complained of constant fatigue and a feeling of fog in her head all her life. After starting to eat sea kelp every other day, adding it to salads or simply eating a spoonful as a side dish, Rosa Andreevna noticed positive changes within a month. She shared with the author, "Margarita, it's like someone turned on the light inside. My memory has improved, and even my neck doesn't feel so cold anymore." This example clearly demonstrates how proper nutrition can have a positive impact on well-being, if it is not made too complicated. However, it is important to remember to choose the right product. You should avoid canned sea kelp with vinegar and sugar, as it can do more harm than good. It is better to give preference to dried kelp, which must be pre-soaked in water for several hours, thoroughly rinsed, and have a small amount of oil added. You can also use high-quality frozen sea kelp without additives. There are many ways to eat sea kelp. It can be added to salads with carrots, buckwheat, or boiled beets. It can also be served as a separate side dish, eating 1 or 2 tablespoons, or added to vegetable soup at the end of cooking. If sea kelp has been bypassed before, you shouldn't give up on it. It's worth giving it a chance. The next product that deserves attention is sauerkraut. There is nothing superfluous in it, but it has everything you need. The author has known this product since childhood, as sauerkraut was always prepared at home in a large jar without adding vinegar or sugar, using only cabbage, carrots, and a little salt. As a child, she ate it as a side dish with potatoes and fish, and later, as she grew older, the author realized that it was not just an addition to the dish, but a real support for the whole body. Sauerkraut is a living product rich in lactic acid bacteria, which promote normal bowel function. This, in turn, improves the absorption of vitamins, reduces the load on the liver, strengthens the immune system, and, most importantly, reduces inflammatory processes in the body. The author especially felt the benefits of sauerkraut at the age of 70, when she experienced digestive problems, bloating, heaviness after eating, drowsiness, and loss of appetite. After starting to eat a small amount of cabbage, 1 tablespoon before meals, sometimes just as a snack, the author felt relief after a couple of weeks, and after a month, the sensations inside became calmer and more harmonious. Her appetite returned, and her mood improved. Sauerkraut is not only a delicious dish, but also a valuable source of vitamin C, which is often deficient with age. In addition, it is rich in fiber, potassium, and B vitamins, in particular B6, which has a beneficial effect on brain function and helps reduce anxiety. Real-life story. The author's neighbor, Anna, who is 78 years old, developed intestinal problems after taking antibiotics. The doctor prescribed probiotics, but Anna forgot to buy them. Then the author advised her to start with sauerkraut, but not from the store, but homemade. A week later, Anna shared her impressions. She had normalized digestion for the first time in a month, felt lightness in her body, clarity in her head, and her mood improved. How to eat sauerkraut properly. It is recommended to eat 1 or 2 tablespoons before meals, or add it to salads, avoiding mayonnaise. It is important that the cabbage does not contain vinegar, sugar, or preservatives. The ideal recipe includes only cabbage, carrots, and salt. If you are striving to improve digestion, improve mood, and get rid of irritability, add sauerkraut to your diet. This is a simple, affordable, and useful solution. If you already have sauerkraut in the refrigerator, you are welcome to write in the comments, "Sour but faithful." If you are just planning to try it, you can write, "I'll start with a spoonful." This will make it possible to understand who is ready to support their health without unnecessary costs and radical measures.